Welcome back to this channel. I'm Maura Lippert and this is Resilience Strength Recovery. And today I have a subject that's really hard to talk about, and I hesitate to do it, but I know it's one of the reasons I started this channel, was to speak about one of the most despicable things that is happening in our world that a lot of people don't know anything about, including me a few months ago. I will be using code language during this, and I may be referring to notes, and I apologize, but I want to keep on track. It's a big topic, and I'm not going to speak about it very long. I hope I get my message across. Let me know if I do. If you haven't started subscribing to my videos, I'd appreciate if you would, and also if you could share any videos that interest you or you think someone might appreciate. And this one's a really important one. It's a pretty emotional topic, and I'll just get into it. So this video is called All About the Babies and Cognitive Dissonance. So this is going to be very shocking and hard for you to believe. And I don't ask you to believe any of my information in the videos. Obviously it's not all my information, I'm just conveying it. I encourage you to do your own research and validate or not validate, but find out for yourself the truth. I will give you some tips on, a couple tips on where I went for the truth. And I encourage you to listen with an open mind. This is a big horrible topic, and it's really hard to listen to. This is not appropriate for children, so if they're in the room, please turn this off or find somewhere else for them to be. So the key to understanding the evil plan that the elite 1%, call them the deep state or whatever, there's other names for them, but there's a small group of very wealthy people who are ruling our lives. And a huge part of how they can stay so wealthy is to do with this video, the subject of this video. These ultra-rich people are ruling our lives without our permission or our consent. And as I said, due to the rules of this type of channel, I will be possibly using handwritten notes. And I apologize for anyone who doesn't read cursive writing. They will be in cursive writing to try to fool the algorithms. So in the months of early 2020, when I was, like a lot of people, off work and had a lot of time on my hands, I started questioning what I was hearing. None of it was making sense. I encourage you to read or follow, to listen to. I encourage you to listen to my Wake Up video 1 and 2. It will help you understand the process of how I started questioning things. And at some point I decided to look into what I'd been hearing about, which was this very shocking and very true, unfortunately, business of two things. And particularly so as this came to light, the more research I did, it was kind of the why behind a lot of things. It helps fund the workings of the bad guys. I watched a series of videos that were particularly eye-opening, and if at the end of this video you want more information, I encourage you to go to BitChute or Rumble. You won't find it on YouTube anymore. And it's a series of videos by a Danish, I believe, journalist. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but she's very well, she researches things very well. Her name's Janet. Her first name's Janet, and the show is called And it's in 10 parts. I encourage you to watch it in pieces in 10 parts rather than all at once. I don't think anyone can handle that. It is very eye-opening. It does confirm that in this scary flu situation we've been dealing with in the last 18 months, that the biggest victims, in my opinion, are children and babies. So I'd like to raise what I've stated in the title as cognitive dissonance before I get into why I think children are the biggest victims. I think you probably know cognitive dissonance is basically a way to describe a type of mental discomfort when someone is holding or considering two very conflicting ideas. And I was in cognitive dissonance for a long time at the beginning of learning the truth. I know I went into a series, the stages of grief and death, in a way because a part of my life died, my beliefs died. Some of the innocence I had even as a 60-something-year-old about the world died. I had anger that turned into rage, denial, grief. Eventually, I don't know if acceptance is a good word, but there's a sense of coming to terms with it. Every morning, as I learned more and more, I'm sure a lot of you felt this too, I'd wake up and think, this was just all a bad dream and my life's going to go back to normal. Well, there's no normal anymore. I don't think we'll ever have normal again. And honestly, I don't want normal again, because for me it was walking around blind half the time, obviously. So as I did the research and I learned, I'll share some of the things that I've learned and come across and studied. So why do I say that children and babies are the biggest victims of this situation, and also the victims of much of the violence in the world? It's hard to imagine, and again, I warn you, this is going to be difficult for me to say and for you to hear. I'm really trying not to cry as I say these things. So the children are the victims for many reasons. Let's give you the example of masks. Babies need human interaction, and the face is a great way to interact with humans right from birth. Babies look to mom and look to their loved ones to see that they're safe and to see that they're being loved and appreciated. Apparently, I guess it makes sense under the rules. It doesn't make sense, but I understand under the rules that this is happening. I found it hard to believe, but moms in labor these days are asked to wear masks in labor. Just think about that for a minute if you've ever had a child being in labor with a mask on. So the first thing the baby sees when mom comes out is this. When their child comes out. So as the child goes into school, there's lack of socialization with peers and teachers. Children who have any kind of learning or hearing or children who are hearing impaired, they can't mouth read, or children who don't understand words very well don't get the vision of the mouthing the words. So it has a big impact on human communication. Apparently, babies' IQs, the babies born in this splandemic, are much lower IQ, and they aren't socialized properly. There's lots of studies on that. They've done studies on the actual masks, and parents sent scientists samples of the children's masks that they wore for the day, and they were basically a petri dish for bacteria, fungus, virus, and mold, among other things. So children are being subjected to that. Dentists are saying that it's a horrible, horrible environment for dental health, and it's having a huge impact on children's oral health. More bacteria obviously grows under a mask. And one of the biggest things as an impediment to learning is low oxygen levels in the brain. In the body, yes, but in the brain is sort of the key. An oxygen-starved brain will not learn. Not to mention the fact that wearing masks have been long known as a satanic ritual, and it's apparently the people who prey on children. I'm not spelling this right, I know, but you get the gist. Those people love the fact that children are wearing masks, and it's really hard to get your head around that, but it's true. So, not to mention the jab, aka, is being rolled out for children, as I think they're even talking about newborns getting it. If you're a parent, you have every right to do what with your own body, but really think about what you may be doing to your children. Please research it and think twice before you go down that road. So getting back to my research, I learned things. You can look up certain names. The whole Hollywood thing of trafficking is huge. One of the biggest industries is this, and with humans, the selling of them. Maybe this sign's backwards for you, but the profit from humans, the selling of them, I'm purposefully avoiding putting the word trafficking with people, is 150 billion. Now I think that's probably low. Women, 71% of the victims are women and girls. 29% are boys and men. That doesn't even take into consideration the sale of, excuse me, my little sign fell, the sale of body parts, organs, and blood products from little ones is much more valuable than grown-ups. So the adrenal glands produce under extreme stress, trauma, violence, torture. The adrenal glands excrete a hormone product to help deal with it, and prepare the body for it and help the body deal with it. And it's supposed to be a short-term protection that God gave us. Well, the evil ones love to harvest it. And when I say harvest, I'm sure you can picture, well, maybe you can't, I couldn't. There are ways to harvest it. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to let you use your imagination if you want to. This particular substance, and again, I don't want to set off any alarms. I'm going to give you the name. So it's two parts to the word. So this stuff is very addictive, and it is called the Fountain of Youth because its effect on someone who takes it on a regular basis is to basically roll back the years in energy, vitality, looks, skin, lines, health. Short term, it makes a person look very young and vibrant. Long term, it can be very detrimental. And a person, after about a year's daily use, gets hooked on it for life. You might have seen some of the Hollywood elite. I'm not saying all Hollywood stars use this stuff. It is injectable or taken by mouth. I actually read that I could order it on Amazon, and I looked it up, and yep, there it was. I don't know if it is now, But the really, really good stuff is fresh, and the younger the subject, the better. And there's more money has been made from harvesting this substance than all the drug trafficking in the world combined, because this substance is so addictive, and these elites who have lots of money are using it to look younger. I don't know, but I can think of a few stars in Hollywood that sort of defy their age, and I wonder, have they had facelifts? How do they in their mid-50s do a James Bond type film, an action-packed film? Anyway, the imagination can go a little nuts, but this product, as I say, is very highly addictive, and during the lock, when people were at home and didn't have their supply, a few of the stars went on their little videos and looked weird, said some weird things. Could that be part of it? I don't know. So the trafficking of this and little ones, little human beings, is way more lucrative than any other source. And the elites, most of them, are making lots of money from it. The other thing that's happening is children are stolen. There's apparently some crazy number, like 4 million children a year just disappear every day in the world. I don't know if that's true. I haven't seen that number lately, but it's a horrible number. It happens in Canada. It happens in all over the world, places like India, and where there's a lot of poverty, it probably happens a lot more. It's happening in the United States right now with the open borders, that Sniffy Joe, who is probably one of those people that enjoy little ones and their substances. There's a lot of evidence of that. He does spend a lot of time sniffing little ones. There's lots of videos on that. Anyway, 50% of the unaccompanied children who have crossed the border have disappeared. Where have they gone? They believe that they're probably being trafficked. So this is an issue that's way more common than I had ever suspected. I had no idea about the substance that ends with chrome. And as a survivor of child molestation, it triggered a lot of things in me. And I'm really angry, and I'm feeling so much compassion for the victims and the mothers. Apparently, there's huge communities of farms, we'll call it. And this is really hard to believe. In underground tunnels, hundreds of feet below the earth. And some of these tunnels have been around since the Egyptian times. There's other things done in there, but the farms have children that are born down there. The mothers are basically cattle, cows that give birth as often as possible. The babies are taken away, given to handlers who abuse them. And eventually they're, as young as possible, tapped for this magical substance under extreme stress and or torture to create the highest quality of the substance. Organs are also sold because these children have a due date. I've seen an inventory list that's supposedly true from one of the farms. They don't have names, they have numbers. And their entry date, whether it's birth or coming in from the outside world, arrival at the farm is noted. The number of times that they've been harvested has been noted. And then their due date, their expiry date, they call it. is on the list. So this is rampant, way more rampant than we know. Some of the most well-known people in the world have practiced it. It's part of rituals of dark magic. That's nothing new. Most people don't know a thing about that. I sure didn't. Some of the most well-known people in the world, maybe, and I'm talking very well-known people, royalty, high-up religious people, celebrities, the Canadian top guy, our Mr. T, also known as Skippy. He's been associated with the Princeton Pig Farm, which was, for those of you who don't remember or aren't Canadian, was a place where where trafficking of women was happening. And apparently parties happened. Elite people, neighbors, or people who were near the farm at the time, went on for years. Apparently neighbors say that people would come in limousines, all decked to the nines, dressed up. And there was, under the farm, there was a nightclub and a theater. And people could witness abhorrent things that you and I can't even imagine. The Highway of Tears has also been linked to the guy who's the head of Canada and his friends and colleagues and cronies, etc. The story is very long. I'm going to wrap up. A couple well-known, I would just say a couple well-known people is the Epstein story. I know there's a Netflix movie which talks about part of it, but really there's certain prince, beginning with a Prince A of the United Kingdom, who's just been served with doing that practice, and he's going to be going to court and hopefully get his just deserts for doing what he did. There's a woman named Maxwell, Ghislaine, who is going to be dropping some bombs when she testifies, and will most likely sing like a canary as part of her deal. As part of her deal to get better treatment in jail, will sing like a canary and give lots of information about certain people that she knows of in this elitist group. So before I leave, I do want to end on a note of hope. The hope that I have derived is that this practice is coming to light, and it is part of our understanding. It has to be part of our waking up. And I'm encouraging you to do your research, watch that program or anything else that may help you understand and talk about it amongst your adult friends, because it is very real and it's part of the wake-up journey. So one of the things being done about it is, and I spoke about this in one of my earlier videos, is the Mr. T, President T of the United States, before he left office, one of his earlier executive orders was called Combating Human Trafficking and Online Child Exploitation in the United States. Apparently he's done a number of executive orders, and he basically very early on in his term set up a military specific to this issue, and I believe some of them are U.S. Marshals, to do the business of breaking up these rings and exposing them and saving the children. And I've noticed during this last 18 months that I see on alternative media, not the mainstream, lamestream media, the cracking of rings of these sickos. And I've given up looking to see if it's on CBC or Global or any of the Canadian news or big American papers. No. Well, that's because it's their cronies that are being taken down. and their sources of income. Yes, the mainstream media are part of this. It all connects back to this global elite, 1% of the richest people in the world. We probably don't know their names, and they are very evil. And unfortunately, they own pretty well all the big businesses, including the big tech companies, the big stores, the big restaurants, pharmaceutical products, drug companies, etc., are all owned by these bad guys, and it's all interconnected in the slimiest ways you can even consider or try to consider. But there is a movement to save these children. There are lots of really great organizations that are exposing them, the bad guys, and breaking up the rings and helping the white hats or the good guys to break up the rings and save the children. These folks have been spending years going into the underground tunnels and saving the children. It's a very dangerous process for them. Many of them have lost their lives. It's very complicated, very dangerous, but it's being done. And the evil ones are being exposed. The hammer's coming down on them. The elite 1% are going down, and their main source of income is being cut off. And that's great, because when we stop their income, we take their power. So how can you protect the children? Obviously, I'm sure you know of this and have thought of this, the children in your communities and obviously in your family. A lot of people have chosen to homeschool, which is not a bad idea. There's a lot of critical race theory and lies, and our children, I think, are being programmed. And I'm a mom who worked when my children were little, so I can't imagine trying to homeschool as well. But if you can make it work, I encourage you to. There's lots of groups. I even know a woman who doesn't have the resources or the time to homeschool, but she knows a lady who's very experienced and has a curriculum, and she's homeschooling other children in the community, and she's taking her child there, which makes a lot of sense. You can also go to school board meetings. We all have to get more active, paying attention to what our city councils are doing, and at the school board level, what nonsense and stupid rules they're doing. We all need to take back our sovereignty. I am in the process of really working to stand in my own sovereignty, to be very aware of what I do and do not accept. And I encourage you to ask yourself, what does that mean for you, standing in your sovereignty and the sovereignty of your children and grandchildren? We're taking Canada back. We're taking the world back. It is happening. We're protecting the babies and the children. You probably know someone who would benefit from seeing this video. Thank you for listening. It was very, very, very difficult to make this, but as I said, when I first envisioned doing this channel, I knew that one of the main reasons I was doing it was to expose the evil, and this is a huge part of it. I have to do it for the babies. When it comes down to it, honestly, the children and the babies are behind so much of this in so many different ways. So please leave a comment or email me. My email address is on the information in the channel. And share this video. Like it if you think it's appropriate. Thumbs down, thumbs up preferably. Subscribe with the little notification bell on. And please do come back for more videos. If this is resonating for you, I hope it is. And if not, every blessing to you for watching it. And every blessing in general to all beings, to all babies. I have the picture of Madonna and child behind me for a reason. My cousin did that beautiful mosaic. And while I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore, I do think we have to remember. And I'm hoping that that little visual will help us all remember. May all beings be blessed. May the babies be blessed. And may you be blessed. Thank you for tuning in to Resilience Strength Recovery. I hope this has helped you build resilience, strength, and recovery. Namaste.